on something so
Here
I
we
don't have to hold
go.
it.
We are live, and we're sorry we're a few minutes late. We like to be on time, but we are streaming globally all over the world. This is TMS Roundtable Global. My name is Dr. Tovah Goldfein. I'm so happy to be here live with my wonderful co-host, Rose Hoy from Australia. Hi, Rose. Good morning.
Hi, Tovah. Good morning. Good morning, Kaylene. I'd love
Hi,
to
Kaylene.
introduce you.
Good
Kaylene,
morning.
hi. Now, we found Kaylene and we found this wonderful book she's written. And it's called For the Love of Self. You can imagine on this program how important that word is, for the love of self. She actually had a journey, a personal growth journey, which included overcoming a cancer diagnosis. Now, cancer is slightly different to other TMS symptoms because it's an overgrowth of cells. So Kaylene's going to talk about her journey, and included in that is an area of childhood trauma. So it's not like everyone's trauma, but it's similar. So she's in Queensland, Brisbane actually.
Brisbane,
So
Brisbane, Australia.
yeah, Brisbane, Australia. So
Okay.
Kaylene, would you like to tell us a little bit about what prompted you to write the book, and what a lovely, lovely way to describe it, For the Love of Self?
Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining. What prompted me? Well, I had a cancer journey back in 2001, but that sort of stopped there, and I didn't do anything with it, of course, until I did an Artist Way course, which was about writing and creativity and all that sort of stuff, and connecting with your inner child and playing. And anyway, my teacher said to me, you need to write a book about it. And I said, oh, no, there's lots of books out there about that. Who'd be interested in mine? She just said, oh, well, write it anyway. And every excuse I came up with, she said, write it anyway. So I did go home and I wrote a couple of foolscap pages about it all. And, of course, then it got put up on the shelf and was left there. And then my journey continued in all other different ways, and I had lots of different signs from the universe, from my own inner promptings, that I needed to write the book because my message would help other people. And of course, well, that was the impetus, of course. It's always nice to be able to share what you've learned and what you know for the benefit of others. So finally, one day on our way into the city, my husband and I were going out for dinner, and just out of the corner of my eye, I turned around and there was this big billboard sign, big white sign, and in purple writing, which is my favourite colour, says, "Your story changes lives." So I thought, okay, that's the final sign. I can't ignore it anymore. So I set about then finding out how to write it. I mean, how do you write a book? I had no idea. I, let's say, hated English actually at school. So I wasn't very good at writing essays or anything. So that was the next part of the journey, was to set about finding how I could write it in some sort of format that people could understand, and it was, you know, fairly good English, etc. So I actually ended up going to U3A classes and learned how to write a biography. And after 3 classes, I think I finally understood what I had to do.
Got it.
And I got it. I think I got it. But the title, you mentioned the title was...
why did you choose this title? Because this is probably the most important key for everyone watching.
Yeah.
To see.
Well, I didn't actually choose the title consciously, let's say. I just asked myself, okay, if I'm going to write this book, what would I call it? And I just heard, For the Love of Self. I thought, oh, that's a nice title, and it never changed in all the years. I mean, it was 12 years from when I first started writing the book till I really got serious about writing it. So that name never changed. But if you think about it, for the love of self. That is the most important thing that we're here to learn about, is to love ourselves. Because if we can't love ourselves, well, then we really can't love anybody else. So I thought it was a very apt title, because growing up with very low self-esteem and not really thinking very nicely about myself, I thought, yes, it was a very, very good title. So I kept it.
Fantastic. Now, give us a little bit of that biography, because not everyone would have read the book. And and Kaylene's biography comes from country Queensland. It's very, very basic, and then her journey out of that country sort of life, I suppose, and poor self-esteem, and the fact that she actually had, I think, 15 changes of home, didn't she? Something like that.
Yeah.
By the time you were 18 or
18.
whatever.
Yeah.
So can you just sort of share with the audience how difficult that was, moving from different school to different school, and the fact that you had a visual, what would you call it, difference? Can you share that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes, we did move a lot. My dad was a bit of a roamer, and 15 times in 18 years. So I was always the new kid on the block, so to speak. And actually, from when I was really young, 4 months old, actually, my right eye started to turn, and it turned quite badly, which they called a squint. And I couldn't really do much about it, but I used to wear a patch on one eye and swap over. It was very traumatic, actually, because it didn't really work and didn't make me very happy. But during all those times, I mean, our life was fairly tumultuous in lots of ways, because when we moved to the Stirling's Crossing forestry hut, there was ended up being 6 children in this little tiny hut, which was like 2 bedrooms, and then my dad actually built an extra piece on for us to all live there, because we had no electricity, we had nothing like that, and the hut itself was just half timber and the rest was canvas. So it was very, very basic. Everything happened outside. We bathed outside. The toilet was up the back, and it was just really, really hard. We did most things ourselves. You know, we made all our own butters and cheeses and all sorts of different things. So there was always a lot to do. But I started school actually at this Stirling's Crossing. I went to school at Imbil, and of course that's when the bullying started about my eye. And you know, children don't understand. I get that, but they are merciless. You know, it just continued day after day, every day, and you just feel like you're just worthless, really. There's just so many different words that you could use. So anyway, that was, I think, the Stirling's Crossing aspect of my life was the most influential, because lots of things happened during that time. My a lot of fears and phobias with spiders, with water, with all sorts of things happened there. So and of course the relationship within our family group wasn't always very healthy. My mum and dad did have issues, and as a child, it's very hard to know what to do with all that, what you see, what you hear. We just don't have the skills to do that. So you just bury it all away. I actually tried to be the rescuer for my mum, and I used to try to get between them. But of course, that doesn't really work, because it's not my problem. And I'm not an adult. I don't know how to deal with it. But you just want to do whatever you can to, make things better, I suppose. Yeah.
Now, your mother, she had migraines all the time?
Yes, she did, really, through her whole life. Yeah, very. My mum was a very sensitive person, but she did struggle with really bad migraines her whole life. Yeah.
So you already had a very, like ACEs type, adverse childhood experiences. Now, can we fast forward a little bit? You've got a Reiki master background. You've got a lot of personal growth. Just talk to our audience about the personal growth you've done as an adult, and help them to see that, like, your cancer diagnosis just didn't magically go away. You had to do a lot of personal growth to achieve that. And then tell us about what you discovered, because I mean that's what's really important, and it's just so wonderful that you're willing to share that story, because like women's health is sort of like always put under the covers and not really talked about. And you know, I'm so grateful that you've actually come on board to share this with the audience, like the bullying, the moving, the fact that you know things weren't really that restful at home and wasn't secure, and yet you've managed to overcome all that and overcome the cancer diagnosis. So can you share a little bit about that?
All right. Well, you know, we get on with life, and life is busy. That's echoing.
No,
Anyway,
not for us.
Yeah, it's okay.
Is it all right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So
You know what you can try, dear?
Yes.
Turn down the sound a little bit in your computer. I'll do it in mine also, and sometimes that helps.
Put the sound down.
A little bit in your computer or your phone.
I don't have I'm not using my computer. I'm using my phone.
Just put the sound down a little bit, but speak, and just see if that helps.
If that helps.
And speak a little louder. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. See if that helps, honey.
Yeah. So I mean, we go through life and we put challenges in our way, just normal daily life, you know, things with business and everything else. And in the late 80s, my husband and I got an interest in it was called Inner Peace Movement, actually, and started to think about the laws of the universe and positive thinking, all those sorts of things. And then I came across the Louise Hay book called You Can Heal Your Life. And once I started to read that book, it just made so much sense to me that sort of like everything happens for a reason. It's got to be something behind, you know, the thought, body connection, the emotions attached to all that. So I became quite an avid reader of lots of personal growth, spiritual, metaphysical books, and along with that came the healing, the things that come to the surface that you want to heal. And I knew that I had a lot of emotional baggage and phobias from my childhood. So as it came along, I sought out help to heal it, and I actually, in 1993, I first became attuned to Reiki, and to me that was magic, because then I could do healing on myself, and anything that came up I was able to sort of look at, and sometimes I had other people help me, of course, but the tool is really for your own self-healing. So I continued with Reiki, and I ended up getting attuned to second degree Reiki a few years later, and I didn't actually and with the second degree Reiki, you can actually send healing back to anything. You send it back to whatever, to any issues, whatever's involved. And so that was really helpful. And I didn't actually do my master's until 2001, and by then I was already within the cancer journey, actually. So that was really interesting. But I just found the Reiki and the Louise Hay were the two most important healing tools for me. I had lots of other things that came and went that were that came into my awareness that it was something I needed to do. I asked for whatever help I was going to need, and so then the help came, and I just accepted that help. But the Reiki and the Louise Hay, I think, were the two most important elements of my healing. But of course, during after I had the cancer diagnosis, did lots and lots of healing, and then during one healing session, I was given a name, because the practitioner was saying what happened about 5 or 6, and I said, I don't know. I couldn't think of anything that was significant. Anyway, then I was given a name, and once I was given a name, and then all things just all fell into place, and I knew instinctively what had happened. And of course that's when the dam broke, as they say, and I cried and cried. So but from that moment then I knew that I'd been sexually abused when I was 5. So with that information then I was able to go, let's say, to the next level of healing, and because I knew what I was healing now. So forgiveness played a huge role then, forgiving myself, because you blame yourself for everything that happens. You have to
Okay.
forgive yourself.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, Kaylene, about blaming yourself? And so that the audience will understand that the self-blame is so strong in a little child. Yeah.
Well, it is, and I think because I was so young, and that was at the Stirling's Crossing thing, so many things happened in that era of my life, and you start to think that you're to blame for everything. Sexual abuse actually changes who you are, and you think everything's your fault. You can't say no. You've got to say yes to everything, and you just there's a really big blame thing on yourself. So there's always that guilt factor. I must have been my fault. I must have done something. I don't know, but it's just blame is, I think, is part of the unworthiness as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I have a question. So this Reiki healer that healed you gave you a name?
No. She didn't. No, my inner guidance gave me the name.
Wow.
No, not the practice. No, it all came from within me.
Right.
Divine guidance, if you want to call it. My own higher self guidance. No.
You opened yourself up to the part of your body holds all the memories.
Yeah.
So you allowed yourself to be open to receiving a message, and you were in a calm place.
Yeah.
You were able to calm the nervous system down. And so that was one question. The other question is, can you give us a little bit of a timeline but I have a little bit of an echo, a timeline. So what year did you get the doctors, you felt sick, you felt pain, you had some unusual happening, women's things, and then you went to a doctor and he diagnosed you with an MRI?
Actually, no, I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel anything. It was actually just while I was out walking one morning that I realised that something wasn't quite right down there. So I decided to have a look. And then when I saw what was there, I thought, I think I already know what it is, but I best go and sort of have a check. So I did. And that was actually in the May of 2001. And of course, after the pap smear and the biopsies and all that sort of thing, they said it was stage 3 vaginal cancer. So, but it wasn't. It was actually a lesion, like a wart-type lesion, growing on the outer edge of my vagina. So, yes, immediate surgery was recommended. Of course, your life is in grave danger. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. And I said, well, no. I'm not quite sure that that's the right course of action for me, because remember, this is 2001. I have been doing all this stuff now since the late 80s. So
right. So it was kind of, it came out when you were already healing and releasing a lot of.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's like it came to the surface.
Wow.
Because it comes when you're ready to deal with things. So I think I had done enough work, personal growth and understanding and awareness, that then I was probably ready to deal with that, which is sort of like 50 years later after the event actually happened.
I want to ask, first of all, you're so courageous. Second of all, I'd like to know, it's important for me, and I think the listeners, because some doctors say, well, you're going to hurt yourself. It's dangerous. Don't do that. You're going to, God forbid. I mean, did you go through that experience of fear and then hearing from the doctor what you need surgery, and you're saying, no, I can handle this? Can you talk a little bit about their feelings about that?
Look, it was really, really weird, because I can honestly say I didn't have any fear. I didn't feel anything. I just thought, oh, okay, and this too. We have to deal with this. So I just sat and prayed about what help I was going to need to help heal the situation, which I believe I've created myself through all my repetitive thoughts and feelings like anger and resentment and all those negative emotions. And of course, and why would it manifest there? Because of the sexual abuse. I mean, it's just obvious, really, when you put all the pieces together. So no, I didn't feel any fear. I think I was just like I was on a mission, and that's where I'm headed. And so then once I started getting the prompts of what to do and who to see and all that, I just kept following the prompts, and I just said to myself, it'll take as long as it takes. I had no timeline. I had no thoughts. It was just like, well, I'll do today what I need to do today. And I was consistent. I will say I was consistent with the Reiki and all that, sending the healing, doing healing on myself, and then anything else that I felt I needed to do. But no, funnily enough, there was no fear. I think I just had a really strong belief that it could be reversed. And so I just had to find that way to do it.
So tell us more about what else you did. You said that you prayed about where this was taking you, and then, like, with your Reiki person, describe a little bit about Reiki, because there's a lot of people that wouldn't have a clue about it. So it's an interesting concept, Reiki. Can you share a little bit about that, first of all?
Well, Reiki is just sorry.
Yeah, just broadly, I mean.
Yeah. Well, it's just universal life force energy, which is us. We're all part of it, and but once you're attuned to it, you can channel more of it through yourself. So, as a Reiki practitioner, we're the vehicle for the energy to come through. So, if I was doing healing on Tovah, I wouldn't give her what I thought she needed. She would take through me what she needed. So she was the patient, let's say patient, is always in control of how much they have or don't have. I don't say, well, I'll do this and you'll be healed. That doesn't work that way. It just helps. It just helps the process, and it just helps you to process everything that comes up. And it's really it's beautiful, soft, warm. With me, it's warm energy. It can be tingly, it can be cold, but it's just helps go to the root cause of any presenting illness or disease or whatever, even a headache for that matter. It helps go to the root cause. So that's why I found it so beneficial for me to keep sending to the root cause, for it to come to bubble to the surface, and it eventually did. So I don't know what else I could say about Reiki.
I want to mention something about energy.
Yeah.
If I was to give a chiropractic adjustment, I'm creating a change in the body through some motion.
Yeah.
And I'm moving, I'm creating motion, blood and oxygen. And it's like it's an energy move. If you're doing an acupuncture needle, you're creating energy.
Yeah,
so
it's energy. Yeah.
What we're talking about is, you're in
energetic movement.
Yeah, energetic movement. And this is very scientific. I mean, this is quantum physics. So it's very so I want to be clear to the audience that this is not some kind of new age, hippy dippy. I mean, Reiki is nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new up there that you created or I created or Rose created. Medicines come from herbs in the garden. In the old days, they'd go in the garden and pick out the herbs, and that's how a doctor would treat you. And so Reiki is very scientifically studied. I think not like from doctors, but I know, for example, the story about Dr. Joe Dispenza, who broke his back in a bike accident.
Yeah.
And his doctors thought he was crazy when he said, "I'm going to heal this."
Yeah. Yeah.
And his doctor said, "I think you have a concussion. I'm very serious that you shouldn't be doing this." He said, "Listen, I'm going to do it. I have nothing to lose. I don't want a big rod up my spine. I don't want to be." So he sat and he just worked on himself and meditated, and he didn't do anything unusual, but just focused and visualized. And I imagined you had enormous visualization for you and in your healing that created a new paradigm in your body.
I didn't actually. No, I didn't use visualization.
Wow.
No, I think it sounds really simple what I'm trying to explain, and it's probably not, but no, I just kept putting hands on myself, do the healing, do the understanding, do the quiet time, just do whatever I needed to do. But actually during that time as well, I did go to a holistic doctor. It was recommended, so I did go to in Brisbane here, and after 4 months of being on all the prescribed protein shakes and vitamins and everything, it actually was my body was perfect if I needed surgery, but I still wasn't. And the cancer was still growing. You've got to look at all the areas, your life, your relationships, and all sorts of things that could be a contributing factor to whatever's happening. But yeah, so and he wanted to do surgery like straight away, and I said no, I'm still not convinced. And that's when I realised on my way home that I hadn't found the root cause. So that's when I did really get excited. Truly, I thought I'm nearly there. And then that's when all the rest sort of was revealed. So there was never any doubt, there was never any fear. I just kept moving forward until the day came that it was gone. But it only took 6 months from that focused intent of when I first found out till it was actually gone. It was 6 months. So I thought that was quite an achievement.
It's amazing.
It is an achievement. Look, one of the other things is, I was asking you about the Reiki, and can you sort of tell the audience, how, I think the energy is from the person's hands onto the person's body.
But you don't touch. Right? You don't touch. Yeah. Isn't that right with you?
You don't have to touch the body. No, you don't. You can. Yeah, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It's just, it's a bit of an intuitive thing too, what you do with each different client. But the energy comes out of your hands because it's being channeled down from the universe. It's just all around us. We're all universal life force energy anyway. But it seems to accelerate the amount of energy that we can bring through to the person, and it's usually felt as warmth, and it does create balance and peace in the body, which helps then to put you in a lot better space to look at any issue that might be happening at the time.
So you don't go with an issue, you go more with, did you go every week, or give a picture of what transpired? Did you have to tell the Reiki practitioner anything? Did you have to sort of say, well, I've got cancer and I want to heal it holistically, or what transpired?
Well, I did have a group of like-minded friends who we all were doing the similar sort of thing. So we all just sort of helped each other. So if someone had a sore toe or whatever, it didn't really matter what it was, we all just helped. So, I did a lot of my own healing, but then more in-depth stuff, I did get some help. So people who could sort of prompt you along with let's say with insights that they were receiving, because they're open to everything, so they're getting insights to feed to me, but it's up to me to recognize what the issue or whatever may be. So they don't tell me, we don't tell the client anything. It's you have to find that from within yourself. So no, look, there was no set weekly, monthly or anything. It was just whenever. If it was 3 times a day, it was 3 times a day. If it was once a week, that was because I was doing a lot of the work myself anyway. So
I just like to share that, so that people get the idea of what happens. Now, just again, when you got the word, as you called it, you then in the beginning you said, well, you had to forgive, and then we went on to you said about forgiving you, and then we sort of lost track, or we moved over. So let's go back to that self-forgiveness, and then out of that self-forgiveness, how did that happen? Was it like, well, I was just a little girl? What can you just talk about that a little bit more, in depth, a bit more?
Well, forgiveness, I think, generally was probably from an adult perspective to start with. So anyone who was involved in that at this moment, they're dead now anyway. But the forgiveness for all the things that I did, I felt was as a direct result of that incident back then. I forgave all the people involved in my life in any way that was sexual or anything, but I also forgave myself because I knew then that it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault what happened, and from how it affected me was how I was running my life now, which I didn't understand the
Yeah.
connection. So then you go back and you nurture the inner child and saying, I'm really sorry, because no one believed me when I told my family. No one, after the cancer was over, my family didn't believe me, and so because no one knew, and that's fine. I didn't really need their approval or their acknowledgement because I had healed it anyway. But forgiveness. I just think forgiveness is such a powerful thing. We unintentionally hurt people. People unintentionally hurt us. And I think forgiveness is the only thing that really sets us free. And when I look back now at the dynamics of the people involved in my sexual abuse, they were just victims of victims anyway. So you can't sort of blame them, because they didn't know they were doing anything wrong. And I still believe it was part of my soul's journey to work through all this as part of my self-esteem issues and everything else. So once you sort of start to understand all these other elements, it just it sort of becomes easy. But I know for some people it's not easy, and you just have to be willing to forgive until you're ready to forgive. And I just thought, just do it. Oh yeah, I have no problem. I just need to do all this because it was the only way that was going to set me free.
Yeah, yeah. I love the little bit in your story where you had some sort of a session, and with, I'm not quite sure, I can't remember who now, and you had the experience of your parents believing you, although they're dead.
Yeah.
Can you share that a little bit, because it's so beautiful?
Well, it was actually because I did quite a lot of concentrated healing on my deafness. I have quite severe hearing problem, and I did a lot of therapy with a friend, and she can communicate with, because we were doing a lot of work on all the other stuff to do with the sexual abuse, because we only do bits and pieces as we go along as we're ready. So during this one treatment with Caroline, she said, I've got your mum and dad here, and I said, oh, that's lovely. And I mean, I do believe in all that anyway, because I talk to them all the time. But she just said that they were sort of saying they were sorry, but they did now believe that what I knew had happened, they now acknowledged had happened. And that was quite a big thing. Even though I didn't really need it, it was still nice to have. And so it was really, really good. So so it's all been cleared. Doesn't matter who was involved, or I feel it's all null and void now. It's has no effect on my life at all. Some stories still, people in the news, that's still, some things still affect me. Of course they will, but it's a very different feeling now. Maybe there was more of an anger thing if I used to hear sexual abuse stories, where I have more of an awareness now and a compassion and an empathy for the perpetrator and the victim, because yes, it's not easy. But I think I've made peace with it. Yes.
Yes. Well, that's so good.
Speaking of Louise Hay, I'm just going to interrupt 1 second, Rose. Speaking of Louise Hay, do you know how she labels that she has all the parts of the body and all the different conditions of the body and what they mean? I was going to Google that. Do you know how she does that? Is that some kind of old philosophy about the body and the emotions?
Well, I think a lot of it was stuff that she learned through her training when she was in the church and all that. But same thing. It's all like higher knowledge that comes through, and all the stuff that she did with clients. I mean, she had people that she used to do like healing with as well, and so she collated all these things. Let's say a sore toe on your left foot is the probable cause could be this, or cancer is long-standing hatred and all those sorts, whatever the things are. So she just put them all together, and then she made an affirmation to actually help implement a new thought pattern so that we could overcome the negativity and bring in the positivities, so to speak. Actually, I found her work so good that I actually did her teacher training, and I started doing workshops, and I was teaching people in workshops and weekend workshops all these things. And then that's during that time, you might hear the saying, healer, heal thyself.
Yes.
And I realised once I'd healed myself that that's what it was all about. It's all only about ourselves anyway. So I was doing all this thinking I'm doing it for them, but I was really doing it primarily for myself. And so then I was really put to the test and saying, okay, well, this is what you believe and this is what you're telling everybody. Here's your opportunity to see if it works. And so it did. Yes.
Can I go to chapter 12, please?
Yeah, sure. The C
Okay,
word.
good. It says, cancer, or is it? What I learned from having a multicolored wart-like cancerous lesion on my vagina.
Yeah.
Now, this is for the people that do journaling out there. There's a lot of people that like to do journaling.
Yep, I do too. Yep.
Yeah. And one of the things that Kaylene did in her book, I'll just read it. It's only a couple of lines. It was 2001, and after having the appropriate pap smear and biopsy, I was given the diagnosis of stage 3 vaginal cancer. My doctor in Bundaberg advised me to have surgery as soon as it could be arranged because my life was in grave danger. I wasn't sure that this was the best course of action for me. Now, in the book, she has, I learned. I'll just bring you one of the things. I learned that painful and traumatic memories can be locked away for a long time.
Yeah.
In my case, nearly 50 years, until we were ready and able to deal with them. The timing had to be right.
Yeah.
So what I'm pointing out is that when you do journaling and you talk about or write about a traumatic incident, it's probably a good idea to add, I learned that.
Oh.
What did I learn out of that? Because it's a lovely way. And then she then goes on to her next point is it explained.
Yeah.
It explained why I only wanted daughters,
Mm.
why I was an overprotective mother and didn't like my girls sleeping over at other people's homes, etc.
Yeah.
And then she says, and now I know. I was shocked to find out that I had been sexually molested when I was 5. Although it wasn't my fault, it did change who I was and how I lived my life. This was obvious, particularly in the area of intimacy in relationships and the somewhat misguided choices we made. Now, for journalists, it's just a beautiful way of putting it together because often people will write in their journal about what they were angry about or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that, what did I learn out of it?
Good point.
What did it explain? And I know now. I think it's a lovely, lovely way. So thank you for that. So
that's okay. It's interesting. Oh, go on, Tovah. Yeah.
No. Go ahead. Yeah.
It was interesting when I came to write that chapter because, as I said, I'd written foolscap pages of information. I ate avocados. I did this. I did that. I didn't have coffee. No sugar.
You poor thing.
And then when I was doing this chapter in the class, in the autobiography class, the teacher just said to me, write it differently. So she was telling me, don't write it like all the things you did, all the things you ate, all the things, whatever. Write it differently. And I thought, I have no idea what you mean. Write it differently. So on the train on the way home, the title came to me. That title, oh, well, now that's a very interesting title. Well, let's just go with it. And the rest just flowed. And I thought, it's just a very different perspective on, let's say, a cancer journey, but it does explain lots of things, and I now know all sorts of things. So it was really interesting. And so when I went back to the class and I read the title out to her, that's all I'd done at that stage, and she said, "Now, that's good." I thought, oh, I finally arrived. I finally worked something out. And so I think that was in the third term of writing my biography. So I finished it after the third term and just continued writing. So, yes, it's interesting. And I think what Rose was just saying, which I hadn't really thought of doing, is when we do have an experience, what we have learned. And so then you can really move forward from it because you've sort of learned it and you understand it. Doesn't mean to say that we've learned all of it, because I do believe there's still levels and layers. So we do so much and then we move on, and then a bit more comes to it. So it's when we're able to deal with it, whatever it may be. So we're very clever beings, aren't we? And we're very powerful beings. I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for just how powerful we are, what we are capable of, until we're really put to the test, and have that belief in yourself that, yes, I can do this. I might need some help, but basically I can trust myself and I'm going to do it. And I think if you can stay with that mindset, I think, we can sort of move mountains, really. Nothing's off limits.
Yeah.
So
well, what was amazing about you and your story is that, you grew up, you had some insecurities as a child, you had some real different things going on physically, you moved a lot, and you were at a point where you had to make a big choice. Am I a victim of where I came from, or am I an architect of what I need to do? It's like, and that choice, I mean, I'm sure there were times where you felt really bad, and maybe, like you said, you were fearless, and I believe that you were, but what was really going on in your unconscious? Do you think there was like a clarity that you were going to get better, or did you also accept the fact that, like Rose and I talk about a lot is, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to make 3 mistakes. It's okay to do things not, there's like your journey. Talk a little bit more about the journey, and when maybe for a moment you lost hope, or you got scared about your daughters, or it's just fascinating. It sounds so smooth for you. And
yes, I think it does. I think that's what I said. It sort of sounds really simple. But I think I had focused intent and a really strong belief in cause and effect. And so if I created it, then I can uncreate it. It's sort of just like, it's just like another job. I just have to get on and do it. And I knew that I would have all the help that I needed from the universe, from friends, wherever I needed it. I really, truly did trust in that, and call it a miracle if you want. I don't know, but look, there's lots of people now. It's not uncommon for people to heal themselves of cancer, whether it's through their diet, whether it's through all sorts of different therapies. Everyone's way is different. Food wasn't the whole answer for me. I mean, it may have stopped it growing more inside, but it didn't stop it. So I knew that I had to do something else, and that's when I realised about the root cause. But look, honestly, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I didn't. I always said back then I felt like I was doing it for someone else. Now I have really no idea why I said that and what it really means, but I just had to go through the whole thing and just deal with it as it came up day by day. But I just continued working. I was doing Reiki healings on people, and they had cancer and they didn't know I did. And it was fascinating to see, because we attract like attracts like. So I had quite a few people with cancer coming to me. So I sort of had a bit of insights into what they were experiencing, even though I wasn't having the pain or anything that they were having. No, I had no pain, no sickness, nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow.
So I don't understand. I can't answer all the questions. It's
That's fine. You answered it.
But it is all an inside job. We have to really go within and find out what's going on the inner planes. The inner work is really, really important. We can always keep doing all the outside stuff and look like everything's right, but it's not. It's got to heal it from the inside. Even when I went back to the doctor in Brisbane after the lesion had totally gone, and he just said, "Oh, what did I put on it?" And I said, "Nothing." I said, "I healed it from the inside."
What did you put on it?
Yeah, to make it go away. What do you think? I put metho or I don't know what on it. And he said, "What did you put on?" I said, "Nothing." And I said, "I healed it from the inside." He just went, "Okay," type of thing, and that was it. That was it.
He didn't want your autograph.
No, nothing.
You didn't want to give him a copy of your book.
Well, no, because he was coming from a very different. He was healing it with all the vitamins and the minerals and the good foods and all that. Yes, and I do believe that is part.
This was a holistic doctor.
Yeah, he was a holistic doctor. Yeah. So he did do all that, but he didn't understand the body-mind connection thing, which was really, really strange. But anyway, that doesn't matter. I mean, he was doing a different area, I suppose you'd call it.
Yeah.
So
you've hit on to the most important part of this discussion, haven't you? Really, the body and the mind.
Yeah. The connection for sure, and the emotions
and really,
and the spirit.
Yeah, and you know, like reading your book, I realised that you held on to the secret, didn't you? Really. You held on to the secret until you were in your 50s.
Yeah.
And letting go of that secret allowed you to let go of your cancer. Because cancer is an overgrowth of tissue, isn't it? It replicates and replicates.
Yeah.
And then as your mind and your body and your soul actually became connected, that tissue didn't need to overgrow anymore, did it?
No, and just dissolved and went away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our blood supply helps the cancer grow because our blood supply actually feeds the cancer, or and then this apoptosis doesn't happen, which that self regulatory thing that goes on. So your self-regulation was hampered, wasn't it? Really, if you think about it. Yeah. Until you actually realized what it was that your body was trying to tell you.
Yeah. Well, everything's a message, and when I rewind a little bit, about 15 years prior to my cancer diagnosis, I had a lot of abnormal cells in my cervix, and so I had that all burnt out because that's what you did, and I didn't know. I had no concept of any of the stuff that I know now, and I just did what I thought was necessary. So now, with the understanding and awareness I have now, I truly believe that was my first big sign back then. But I didn't know that then. So leading on from that, so if you don't get the message then, it'll come back. And where did it come back?
In a bigger way.
Still in the same area. So I believe until we find out what is actually behind all the emotions and beliefs and whatever is behind anything that's happening, we can heal it in different ways. Or it's like dieting. You can be focused for 6 months and lose 10 kilos, and then if you don't understand why you're overweight, then the weight all just comes back on again. So it's a similar sort of thing. So I believe that was my first big call, but I didn't know then.
Do you think this makes sense now? I'm answering my own question about Louise Hay.
Yeah.
Do you think that if we have pain somewhere, like for me, like wherever I have weakness, I know exactly what happened. I was a little girl and I was in the hospital for some throat problem. They found some fungus on my throat and I was like 2 and there was a tube in my throat. So of course I grew up with issues with mold, which was because they found some fungus and stuff with my throat. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. And that, so is it safe for, look, it's nothing, I don't believe in like black and white. It's not science, but if something's wrong, if my pain comes somewhere in my body, I can look and wonder what was going on in my life, or maybe even a past life. I believe in past lives. I mean, there was trauma that happened in that area. You know, I mean, it's really a beautiful way to understand the world and our relationship to the world. It's relationship with, you know, the God part of all of us. It's a relationship, you know, with our how we know ourselves. Like, pain is a message to come to connect. Because pain is not normal. I mean, I'm not against medicine, but when doctors, they make chronic pain, it becomes a story. It's like, it's a story. This is your story, and this is what's wrong, and there's nothing we can do. And they're not lying to us. They're just stopping before the magic. Stop before the truth, before the science. And of course, Dr. Howard Sherburner on this show last week, he said, you know, the fear's much worse than the pain. The fear will make the pain worse. Now, it's interesting to you. You didn't have no fear, and I believe that. I believe that, Kaylene, that you're fearless. Doesn't mean you're not a humble woman and a God-fearing woman. I work with you on the presence process, and you're very humble, and you're very kind. You know, it doesn't mean you're like Superwoman. You have insecurities. So I'm saying, I'm painting a picture here, but you didn't let the drama of the diagnosis and of the label and of the very sensitive area where you had cancer, and the sensitive memory, and the players in the drama. You just kind of detached yourself. Not that you needed to feel but you didn't look, maybe you were scared. Doesn't matter. I'm not here to argue with you, but the fear did not stop you from getting where you needed to go. And that's what I think happens with some of our clients. It's like, they don't even realize they're scared. And so this is what I want to understand. And I'm fascinated by your story. And so are a couple of our listeners. They're just kind of commenting. It's fascinating. Can you talk a little bit about fear and what you find with some of your clients with fear and how they stop healing?
Can I interrupt?
Please interrupt.
Can I interrupt, please?
Yes.
We're looking at a tomboy. She can do anything.
And a tomboy. Very much. I did have lots of fears of the more, emotional fears. I think I had lots of phobias and fears, but it seemed when it came to the big things, I didn't. You know, maybe it was something I felt that I was able to do something for. I was in control. And just going back to the past life thing, I do believe that we've had many lives, and so we have issues that we choose to work on when we come back in. So I believe mine was self-esteem, unworthiness, those types of things, and I think we work on them for many lifetimes. But others could be different things about responsibility, could be about money. So it's interesting. So we keep carrying on and hopefully keep moving on up, you know, out of the negativity part of whatever the situation might be, and moving forward and up. So we keep becoming lighter and lighter and live happier lives, I think, because we let go of a lot more excess baggage. But yes, I was always a tomboy, fell out of trees, off tank stands, off verandas. I never broke anything. And then the fall a couple of weeks ago, didn't break anything except for that. You know, so I was a tomboy, but, you know, part of my tomboyishness and going high, I remember doing an intuitive drawing one day, going back many years, and I did that so I could be closer to God. That was my way of getting away from all the physical stuff and moving up high. And we had a big tree on one of our farms.
Above it all.
Above it. And so therefore to me it was being closer to God, and then I felt sort of safer and more peaceful there. So it was interesting,
Amazing.
I just thought, well, you know, she can climb trees, she can do this, she can do that. And then she decides, I've got cancer. I'm going to do that. I'm going to sort out the bigger tree. So,
what about the fear of the spider? Like, would you freak out if you saw a spider and scream and run away?
No, I don't. But the redback spiders still make me go cold. They were in the toilets. They were in our outdoor toilet and in our outdoor shower. And my dad used to, if he could find all of them, burn them down with newspaper. But I mean, redback spiders are very poisonous. And you know, going to the outdoor toilet was always a bit of a scramble. You know, and or so even now when I see them, doesn't matter even if it's just a drawing. I just go cold. I just go cold. It's really, really strange. So I haven't really let go of. I don't think it's a fear. It must be just a phobia. I don't know. But I don't worry about it.
You're very human. And I do want to make a point because I do have some patients that ask me, like there are young people who get cancer, and I'm a little bit taken aback by that. You know, the young girls that get cancer. How can you explain that to our audience? Because I'm really, really sad about that. And they're so young, they're so innocent, everything is so new in the body and the mind. And what do you think's going on with that, Kaylene?
Well, look, this is just my philosophy, what I believe in. People may not, but I believe that we bring in these things to work on, and also it may not be it's also for the people around you. So the young girl might be doing it for the parents to learn about grief and loss or trauma or whatever else. So it's more than just the person who's got the cancer, it's the other people around that have learned. Maybe people have to learn about being empathetic and being like a carer and being kind and all those sorts of things. So there's just many, many areas that you can go into for why a young person would have it, but I sort of believe that they bring that in with them to work on in some way for many reasons. So it is complex, and it will be different for everybody, of course. But you know, I think though grief and loss is a really big one, and I think that's part of it because a lot of lose young children through cancer and that, which is really, really traumatic. But and other ways, of course. But that's just how I see it. And I think if you believe in reincarnation and the bigger picture, we're not just here just this once. It just makes life easier to deal with because it's sort of like getting second chances. Well, if we don't get it all right this time, we come back,
Wow.
To do more on it. So.
Wow, it's a very good point. What do you think about that, Rose, childhood cancer, and how we understand that emotionally? How would we understand that from an emotional point of view?
I don't know. Looking after cancer children, it's pretty sad. And,
yeah, I know.
But the one thing I always, like I worked in a leukemia ward once, the kids sort of encourage the parents in a way that, really always got to my heart.
There's so much learning and growing for everybody, and so that we can't even encapsulate,
right?
Because it's just too big of a subject,
I feel like this one girl that I know about, she's in her 20s and she had been doing drugs and she healed that, and then she got cancer. And I thought maybe she just didn't get to the real cause of what she needed to do. I mean, she came clean with the drugs, but there was more layers.
Yeah,
of
the drugs were hiding what was really happening.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, she was using drugs to hide other things that she wasn't quite ready to deal with.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really
yeah. Kaylene, I love your story. I love your book. Can we put your website on our page so that if anyone wants to get it, or
of course
they can contact you?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a lovely biography, autobiography. Yeah.
Just one more thing I just wanted to say too that I found was really, really important with the healing of the cancer was the affirmations as well. But you can, you can make up your own, or you make up a combination, but always make them in the positive. Don't use any negatives. Always put it in a positive way. That
I just wanted. I'm just going to interrupt real quick. Because I was thinking that imagine a lot of people that come to you for Reiki. Some people have also gone for radiation, and they've also gone for chemo. And I just want to say to the audience and to the universe that there's nothing wrong with that. If they choose that route, this work that Rose and I do, that you do, that we do in the presence process, is just so important for all the other parts of your body. Your mind, body. So I find that to have the emotional piece and the psychological piece and the loving yourself and the love of self, and to I have to say this, like, to love the cancer and the part of you that's been hurt, and to heal that. And if your body has to go through chemo, okay, even more reason to keep loving it.
I had a really dear friend.
Was your hearing how you had to have hearing aids? She lost her hearing aids on Fraser Island in her story.
I was only in my 30s when my hearing got really bad and I had to get hearing aids. I was just mortified. But anyway, I've still got them and I need them really badly. But we're on Fraser Island. My husband was at a meeting and I thought I'd just go for a walk through the rainforest. So to do it all naturally, take the glasses off, the hearing aids out, put them in my pocket and off I go. Well, it was just lovely, and I'm walking around, and then I saw a flower that I wanted to have, so I put my glasses on because I can't see very well either. So I looked at the flower, and then off I went. And then it was time to turn around and come back home, and I went to get the hearing aids out of the pocket, and they weren't there. Oh my God! This is sand. This is all sand everywhere. And so I sat down on a seat, and I thought, oh. Please God, help me find my hearing aids. I don't know what I said. I prayed and prayed and prayed. I need to find these because they're very expensive in those days. That's going back over 20 years ago. They were like $4,000 each or something back then. And you know what? I got up off the seat and I was walking back the route that I thought I had taken. And all of a sudden I just looked down and there both are my hearing aids, side by side, just in the sand. They're all the same colour anyway. I don't know how... It was just, the power of prayer, the power of belief. That was just mind-blowing for me. And I was very happy.
So just on that note, what do you think about that? Do you think that enough Reiki would strengthen the different parts of your ear that maybe you would only need one hearing aid? I mean, have you tried that?
I've tried lots and lots and lots of and I've come to the conclusion now that maybe this is as good as it gets, and I'm using up-to-date technology with Bluetooth, and I've got good hearing now with them. So I think, well, maybe that's as good as it's going to get this lifetime. So I don't know if there's any more healing, any more clearing that I can do with my hearing. So I've just accepted that that's where I'm at the moment. So who knows what could happen next week? But for now, I've drawn a line in the sand.
Okay, tell me just before we finish up about bullying. How did you do that forgiveness?
Oh, well, I did it very physically to start with.
I want to hear about it.
Well, from when I was 5, I first started school, and then as I got older, we moved around a lot, and then we were on another farm, and this young boy, we were about 12, I think, at the time, and he was merciless. He'd get on it, 4 eyes, this, that, and the other, all the time, until one day on the way home from school, that's it. Put him on the ground, thump that out of him, and he never. Oh, it felt so good. It felt so good. It was naughty, I know, but it felt so good. And we were really strong back then, working on the farm. And so, he never actually called me 4 eyes ever again. I don't know why, but
And then you met him again at a school reunion.
Yeah. We just sort of said hi. That was it. No need to go for a trip down memory lane. No. My dad, his dad went and saw my dad, and
Wow.
nothing came. I think my dad was probably just a little bit proud of me that I had taken things into my own hands, so to speak.
Oh, I love that story. I really enjoyed reading that biography. It was just so beautiful, and raw and realistic.
Yeah,
And I think for people that are doing journaling, raw and realistic is important to do, isn't it, Kaylene? Can you just talk a bit about that? Because really, the journaling about your problem and how you felt is not the whole picture, is it? Well, the fact that you did something about your stuff and you wrote about it. Tova and I have been reading about what's his name, Joseph Campbell, is it?
The Hero's Journey.
The Hero's Journey. And there's a problem, an issue. There's some demons that you have to overcome, and then you come back. And your journey is just so, like, that demon is like that boy, give him a good punch in the nose. Yes. And then you get over the other side of it.
Yeah, and that's everything. So how you overcome it, I suppose, and we overcome different challenges in different ways. But just have to find your own course of action, I suppose, and trust in yourself. But there's just one thing I want to leave you with. I'm going to have to go because my phone's just about to die. Because I didn't know I was going to be using my phone. Trust in yourself. And don't make any important decisions when you're feeling overwhelmed. We get all these diagnosed or whatever, and we're just so overwhelmed with everything. Oh, we just have to do this. Just wait a moment. Just have time to sit with it. Even because everything's been manifesting in our body or our mind for a long time.
Don't be impulsive.
Yes, it's been happening for a long time. So don't rush. Don't rush in. Give yourself a couple of days, a week, a month. Doesn't matter. And then do your research and decide what you want to do that feels right for you. All right? Trust in yourself. You know yourself better than anybody else. So,
good advice.
So I think that's what I found. I trusted in myself. You have to learn to trust your own inner guidance and go with that. And irrespective of what anyone else thinks, it doesn't matter. It's your journey anyway. So if you get it wrong, well, that's too bad. But we just keep doing the best we can and following our own prompts for sure.
Yeah, and you see that's one of the blockages with chronic pain and chronic illnesses, that people go back and back and back looking for different diagnoses or a different solution, whereas the solution is in the heart, not.
It's in here. Yeah. Just ask the questions. Just have to ask the questions, and you'll get the answers when you're ready to receive them.
So I know it's undermining. I wouldn't ever want to say, cancer, God forbid, but it can be, and it has been, and it will be a wake up call if we can honor that space and be with, like, that. What Joe, it's a wake up call, and it's a message.
It all is. It's just it's trying to tell you something. It doesn't matter whether it's pain or whatever it is. It's the body's trying to make you aware that something's not quite right. We need to find out what's going on here, and then just fix it. Yeah.
Kaylene, thank you so much. It's just been a delight having you on. It really has.
Thank you so much for having me.
Comments, and people are just like speechless. You left our audience speechless.
And remember, love of self. The bottom line, for the love of your own self, for the love of your own soul, your own heart.
That's why we do it, just for our love of ourselves. Yes. Yeah, so you can put up my website, that's for sure. That'd be lovely.
Okay.
Thanks, Rose and Tovah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Thank
All right. Have a good day, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
See you
next week. See you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.